Hi there. I was just chatting with a friend about what's happening in Bangladesh, and then we started discussing as to why nobody is raising a stink about it. There are obviously a few media channels here and there, and there are a few Instagram posts that you see which talk about the plight of the Bangladeshi Hindus, but nowhere close to what we saw a few months about the state of affairs in Gaza. Greta Thunberg is not out with a ship to save the Hindus in Bangladesh. The reason is very simple. This world is all about narratives, and the narratives that are being driven right now in Bangladesh, it is pretty simple. Bangladesh has been taken over by extremist elements funded by the ISI in Pakistan, and these extremist elements want to destroy the, or rather change the history of Bangladesh. Now, everybody knows that Bangladesh was part of Pakistan. They were East Pakistan, and they got independence through Mujibur Rahman, Sheikh Hasina's dad, who was eventually assassinated, massacred, along with her entire family. I don't know how many of you know this, and she was not in Bangladesh at the time, but she came back and she vowed that she would take revenge, especially against a certain community called Razakars, not community, I mean certain set of people, and she vowed that there would be democracy, and a great credit to her that for the last um, uh, let's say around 50 years, Bangladesh has largely been uh, pretty good in terms of human rights. Um, all of a sudden, there are elements, negative elements, pro. I wouldn't use the name of the religion, but there are certain pro religion extremists who've cropped up now, and they want to change the history of Bangladesh so much so that in 1971 they want to change the fact that Bangladesh got independence from Pakistan in 1971. They're planning to change it to Bangladesh getting independence from India in 1971. So, as ridiculous as that, and obviously, like you've seen in our history books, which are full of bogus. I mean, we hear great things about Mughals. We hear that Tipu Sultan is a hero. He was a traitor. He massacred. He was the mastermind of mass conversions of Hindus. He played havoc with Hindus in the Malabar region, and people don't know stories. I mean, there is story that there's a certain community called Nair community which resisted his oppression, and he sort of gave them the harshest punishment by tying them up between two elephants and pulling them apart. I mean, that kind of a person was hailed as a hero. When we were growing up, we saw the sword of Tipu Sultan being telecast and him shown as a great hero. We've seen Jodha Akbar, which is utter nonsense. I mean, Akbar was, again, if you read books of some of the historians, British historians, they would say what they witnessed as proof of the damage that Akbar had done. And but we hail him as a hero, right? Because of textbooks which were meant for appeasement. We should, in fact, destroy all those textbooks. I would ask the current government as to why they haven't abolished all those textbooks. So, coming back to Bangladesh and the narrative, it is very simple. This world is all about narratives. It is about what narratives certain kind of people want to build. And also, the other thing is that it's very simple now, correlating this with the CAA, which was opposed, heavily opposed, and obviously funded from outside. Just like some of our present day leaders go to Europe and Latin America and USA, and they speak about lack of democracy in India. Obviously, they're funded by certain elements to spread unrest within India. This is something that I would want this. The reason I am speaking about this is to reach as many people as possible who could in turn reach out to more people. We need to spread awareness. See, the biggest I don't know if you've watched the movie Dhurandhar. There is a line which Ajit Doval, or the guy who represents him, says that Hindustani ka sabse bada dushman Hindustani hai, which means Indians have always had this problem where you have traitors within, and we start feeling we apologize to ourselves. We are apologists in a lot of ways, in the sense we start feeling bad about ourselves without being proud of what we are. I mean, because we are part of a cult called Hinduism, which is not a religion. It is, I keep saying that it is a way of life. So Hinduism is one such way of life where anybody from, let's say, Islam is also respected. Somebody who's a Christian is respected. Somebody who worships a tree is respected. Somebody who worships anything is respected. Somebody who doesn't worship, who doesn't believe in God, is also respected. So that is, and hence Hinduism is not a religion. It is more of a thought process. Now, coming back to, again, I'm just sort of digressing because of the range of emotions running through my mind when I see celebrities not tweeting about what's happening to Bangladeshi Hindus. Now, the fact is, the world forgets very soon. If you remember Prabhakaran and the LTTE, yes, they did commit acts of crime during their time, but a lot of people say that they were fighting for their rights. Irrespective, what the Sri Lankan government at the time did was that they abolished them, they decimated them. But the fact is, they inflicted a lot of unpardonable crimes on women and children, but the world forgot. Today, we go play cricket matches in Sri Lanka. Everybody visits Sri Lanka. Nobody hates Sri Lanka, but they did commit war crimes against civilians, to put it in a very mild way. China does it all the time, right? They detain Uyghurs who are Muslims, and Saudi Arabia and the Middle East and the Islamic community never raises a stink because they know that China is all too powerful. Similarly, when the CAA came, the idea was to protect people who are affected by situations like the one in Bangladesh today. And unfortunately, at that time, there were protests, and there were a lot of so-called scholars in India who were opposing the government. Now, don't fall for such traps. What the government was trying to do was the right thing. As simple as that. I mean, today, where will the Hindus of Bangladesh go? They have nowhere to hide. You see Pakistan. They had a significant Hindu population. All of them have been converted. I'm using a very mild word. Children, girls, teenage girls, minors have been raped and forcefully converted into Islam. And this is a fact. I don't know if my video would be even allowed to be aired, but facts remain facts. So coming back to the Bangladeshi Hindus, the world forgets. Like in the case of the Uyghurs, like in the case of Pakistani Hindus for decades, like in the case of Bangladeshi Hindus right now, only narratives prevail. So when there are situations like the ones in Kashmir, for example, Article 370, when it was revoked, people expected a lot of furor. Now people have accepted it as status quo. So it's and Maoists in India, for example, there was a lot of hue and cry. Now Maoism is almost done and dusted, because it used to result in a lot of destruction of public property, a lot of civilians being hurt in the process. So this world is ruthless, and it is about narratives. What I want you to remember is that India, and in particular the Hindu community, has withstood all of this over a period of time. I believe that anybody in India today, whether it's Muslims, Sikhs, Christians, are all part of the same DNA. They all carry the same DNA. Most of them share the same ancestors. A lot of them have. The fact is, a lot of them have been converted, and their ancestors were converted, and hence they belong to a different religion today. So I've always believed that I'm proud of the secularism that we've always had in India, and we are the only genuinely secular nation in this country. But having said that should not be a weakness. So coming back to the Bangladeshi Hindus, we need to show them support. We need to help them fight for their rights, highlight the issue as much as possible. The celebrities won't, because they're not paid to do so. So the common man should. So anybody watching this, please do remember a couple of things. One is, this world is all about narratives. Show your support for Bangladeshi Hindus, and in terms of what we do in India, what the government does, especially if it is a nationalistic government, do show your support. Criticize the government for the wrongs that they do, but in case of nationalistic ideas like, let's say, CAA, which is not meant to hurt any community, it is just to protect uh, um, um, certain communities who have to take refuge in their own country, right, and to help them out. And also remember that any action that is taken, I would also urge the Indian government to take strong measures against stuff like what's happening in Bangladesh, in whatever capacity they can, and also within our own country. I mean, they should, if they think that there are certain steps that need to be taken to curb certain extremist elements, do take them. Take the harshest of steps. And like I keep saying, we should have done the same to Pakistan in Operation Sindoor. We should have decimated them. We should have damaged them, pushed them back by another 15 years, so that it would have taken they wouldn't have been able to recover. They've started threatening India again. I mean, you would have heard news of drones in certain parts of J&K yesterday, for example. So the government should be strong enough to take certain steps, and because the world will forget one day, and they'll forget soon, because they have their own agendas to drive. Um, they have their own people to take care of. So that's uh, that's my opinion. And to the Bangladeshi Hindus, I mean, I hope they're able to survive this. There is no, they're not, they won't be getting the same kind of support that Rafa did. Your Bollywood superstars don't care about you, but stay strong. I'm sure there'll be help somewhere or the other.